Alright, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy David. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing good. I'm doing pretty good as well. So we are back with another video right after the last one. So basically, I had my first car accident earlier this year. Earlier this month. Sorry, so I had my first car accident earlier this month, right? So I didn't have car insurance, and yeah, so basically I'm just gonna tell you the story of what happened. Before I delve into like the actual story, I just want to give some background. So I got my license on September 4th of 2018, so I've been driving for just about a year. I never had a learner's permit because when you're over 18, you could just go take your test and get your license and just skip over the learner's permit part. So I basically just practiced for like 30 minutes a day for like a week or two, and then I took the test and I passed. But yeah, so I drove for like a year without any accidents. So I would say that's pretty good, right? Earlier this month, I did have my first accident. So let me just explain why I didn't have insurance, alright? So in my personal opinion, I just believe that insurance is a scam. You know, I believe that it's like the most massive scam in entire United States history. But that's just my opinion. So why do I think that? Well, so for example, in every other major nation, right, health insurance is run by the government. So, you know, citizens' well-being is their first priority. But in the United States, our health insurance is run by corporations and big companies. If you guys didn't know, corporations, their biggest priority is making money. You know, there's a bottom line. So they want to deny coverage as much as possible so they can make as much money as possible. So yeah, you know, it's just a giant Ponzi scheme, you know what I mean? Like there's so much money involved in the lobbying of government to just block, you know, healthcare from being run by the government like every other major country. You know, the overwhelming majority of Americans want it to be run by the government. We want Medicare for all, but it's just too powerful. The corporations are too powerful, and there's just so much money flowing into government to block it. I do believe it'll happen eventually anyways, just because you can't stop the overwhelming majority of public opinion. And car insurance is the same thing. Like, they make so much money. Like, the insurance industry is a $1.2 trillion industry. Trillion with a T. It's 1.2 trillion. You can't even find online their exact profit margins because they hide it because it's so lucrative, because it's such a scam. But you just need to know it's a $1.2 trillion industry. That's bigger than most countries' entire economies. I actually tried to do it right? So in the beginning, you know, I went to like these insurance companies like State Farm. I'm like, how much would it be for a first-time driver? And they told me it was literally like $260. So obviously I couldn't do that. But in the state that I live in, which is North Carolina, you're required to have insurance in order to get your license. So I did pay 1 month of insurance just to get the license, and then I canceled the insurance, which of course is illegal, but you know, all I had to do was tell them, oh, I'm not driving anymore. They can't take your license away. You can have a license and just not drive, you know what I mean? So that's basically what I told them. So I didn't have to pay the $260 a month. If I had insurance and I was paying the $260 a month, I would have paid about like $2,600 by now, and it would have basically all went into the trash can. It basically would have all went into the insurance company's pockets, right? Because I never needed it. And you might be saying, well, you had your accident, so didn't you need it then? Well, I'm getting to that. So basically, why did I not have car insurance, or why do I think it's a scam, right? The entire thing, the reason we're required by law to have it is because these insurance companies gave millions of dollars in lobbying money, so these states will pass laws that require you to have insurance, right? It's just such a scam. If you just look at any statistics, right? So unless you're like a reckless person, so for example, the average person maybe gets into a major car accident like every 10, 15, 20 years, right? So by the time you get into a major accident in like 10 or 15 years, you would have paid maybe like $20,000 to the insurance company. So for example, you get into a major car accident and it's $10,000 to fix their entire car and your entire car, right? Well, by that time, you would have paid $20,000 in pure insurance. So even though the insurance company is covering the cost, you still end up paying way more to the insurance companies. You know, it adds up. You know, the monthly payment that you paid would have ended up being more than the total cost of the entire repair of the accident. So that's why it's just a complete scam. So now let me get into like the actual accident and what happened, right? So basically, it was a rainy day, right? So the road was kind of slippery, and I was driving home, and I remembered I forgot to to get some juice. So I wanted to go back to Walmart, which was the other way, right? So I stopped, and as I was trying to make a U-turn, I looked in my rear view mirror, by the way. Like, I drive really safe. So I looked in my rear view mirror and I didn't see any cars, right? So I began to try to turn, and then the car behind me was going way over the speed limit. Like, they were going way too fast. By the time that I saw them and they saw me, it was already too late for them to make a complete stop because they were going way over the speed limit, and it was raining and the road slippery. So it was like a one-lane drive, right? So I was about to make a U-turn. They were coming super fast, and so basically they just kind of swerved to the left. Luckily there was no cars coming the other way, so they just swerved to the left, and boom, they hit the front left area of my car, like the front left fender's what it's called. So it didn't hit the lights, so it wasn't like major damage. It was just bent a little bit in the front left fender area. And it was a really interesting experience because I've never been in a car accident before, and it was just a very unique experience because it's like your whole body just shakes, your whole body just moves, you know, from the impact. Thankfully it wasn't like a major crash or anything. But yeah, anyway, so after that he pulled to the side of the road, so I pulled to the side of the road, and he got out of the car. He was like, "Come on, man, what happened?" And I was just like, "Dude, you hit me from behind. Like, what can you possibly say?" Right? I began to like ask him questions like, "Dude, what the heck were you doing? Why were you going so fast? Like, why'd you hit me? Blah blah." And that's when I found out that the guy literally didn't even speak English, and his girlfriend next to him, she spoke English, so she just acted as a translator this whole thing. The guy literally only spoke Spanish. So I was in a tricky situation, right? So even though it was their fault, I still couldn't call the police because if I did call the police, they will ask to see my insurance, and they will find out that I have been driving without insurance, which is a crime, by the way. So I would have had a criminal record. So I couldn't call the police, right? But I couldn't just let them leave either because, you know, they hit my car. You know what I mean? So basically they were just trying to plead with me like, "Oh yeah, we're sorry. You know, we actually stopped for you. We could have just ran away. We wanted to see if you're okay, blah blah." And I'm just like, "Okay, yeah, thank you for having human decency and not doing a hit and run." So I basically proposed to them. I said, "Okay, so here's what we need to do. We need to make a deal." So I basically tried to negotiate with the whole time I was threatening to call the cops, by the way, so I could have leverage. But I was like, "Okay, so I'm gonna call the cops, alright? If you don't want me to call the cops, then we need to make a deal. I need $300, alright?" So I basically asked for $300, which I thought was a fair deal. And even though it was a minor dent, you know, $300 is not a lot for a car accident. So I asked for $300, and they were like, "Oh, we don't have $300, blah blah." And we legit negotiated for an hour. It was like literally an hour in the rain, by the way. Like, it just started, like in the middle of our negotiations, it just started pouring rain. Like, I was soaked. But obviously I couldn't get inside my car because then they might just leave. I had to stay out there so they knew how serious I was. And it was just rain, you know what I mean? So what if I was soaking wet? It was just rain. But yeah, it was pouring, by the way. I was just looking down, trying to get the water out of my face so I can actually open my eyes. It was pouring a lot. But I think they realized, because I was like just enduring the rain, I think they realized that, okay, I was really serious. So we were eventually able to work out a deal. Their counter offer was $100, which is nowhere near enough, right? So, you know, I continue to threaten to call the cops, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call the cops. If we don't make a deal, I'm gonna call the cops. Even though I couldn't call the cops, I had to threaten to call the cops just so I could have leverage. So I think mid-negotiation, they try to leave. They were like, "We can't give you $300, you know, let's just discuss this later. Here's my phone number, blah blah." And they try to leave. So I immediately went behind their car and took a picture of their license plate, and I was like, "No, you are not leaving. We're gonna get this straight right now." And they kept asking, "Oh, do you need the money now? Do you need the money now?" I said, "Yeah, I do need the money now. We need to resolve this now." I told them, "We're either gonna make a deal or I'm gonna call the cops, but we need to make it happen right here, right now." So eventually, after an hour of tense negotiations, we agreed upon $250. So they gave me $250 in cash, and we both went our ways. And I kind of knew they had it in cash. You know, I hate to sound stereotypical, but you know, I've worked as cashiers. You know, I've seen Hispanic people just pull out like literally like stacks of 100 bills. I don't know how they got it. Maybe it's construction. Like, I don't know what it is. Again, I hate to sound stereotypical, but in the back of my mind, I just knew they had the cash. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen way too many Hispanic people just pull out straight hundreds, like straight blue 100 bills. I knew they had the cash, which they did. So yeah, they gave me $250, and we shook hands, and I apologized that I had to do this, but I had to. You know, I kept explaining to them, you know, you can't hit my car and then I'd be like, okay, thank you, have a good day. You were going too fast and you hit my car, so, you know, you had to give me money. We had to make a deal, you know what I mean? I can't just let you off the hook. But yeah, anyways, so I took that $250. I actually had a friend who owns a car repair shop, but he actually didn't do this exact type of work. So he recommended me to another place, which is his friend. His friend also owned a car repair shop. So, you know, I did have some connections and they did ask it to be fixed a little bit cheaper. So in the end, I fixed it for $75. Maybe if I didn't know anyone, if I didn't have connections, it probably would have cost like $100 to fix. But since I did have a little bit of connections, they were able to fix my car for $75. But yeah, so that's basically what happened. I got $250, I used $75 of it to fix the car. So now the car is fixed. And yeah, so that's basically the story of my first car accident. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something if you ever get into an accident. You know, you have to use leverage in negotiations, whether that means threatening or what. You just have to have leverage, and that's how you negotiate. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. More videos coming soon, and until next time, peace.